Our story begins with Bette Davis, one of the most powerful actresses of Hollywood's golden age. Known for her sharp eyes, fierce performances, and uncompromising personality, Bette Davis was also a relentless smoker. She reportedly went through several packs a day during the height of her career. Smoking was part of her image, part of her intensity, and part of how she survived endless studio battles and grueling schedules. Over time, the habit caught up with her. She later battled cancer and openly admitted that smoking had damaged her health. Even so, she never tried to hide it, becoming one of the first stars to speak honestly about the consequences. Next comes Joan Crawford, a woman who defined ambition in Hollywood. Her rise from poverty to superstardom was fueled by discipline, control, and constant reinvention. Cigarettes were always in her hand, both on and off screen. Smoking was part of her powerful, intimidating presence. She smoked heavily for decades, even as her health declined. Behind the strong image was a woman under constant pressure to remain relevant. And cigarettes were one of her few comforts in a ruthless industry that discarded women without warning. Marlene Dietrich remains one of the most iconic images of classic Hollywood, often photographed with a cigarette held effortlessly between her fingers. For Dietrich, smoking was not just a habit, but a carefully constructed symbol of mystery and seduction. She smoked constantly on set, backstage, and in her private life. Despite warnings from doctors, she refused to quit. Her voice, famously husky and deep, was shaped in part by years of heavy smoking. While it added to her allure, it also contributed to serious health issues later in life. Tallulah Bankhead was another actress whose smoking habits became legendary. Known for her wild lifestyle, sharp wit, and fearless personality, Tallulah smoked aggressively and unapologetically. She often smoked multiple cigarettes at once and joked openly about her addiction. Her heavy smoking, combined with alcohol and drug use, severely damaged her health. She eventually suffered from emphysema and other respiratory problems, turning her once powerful voice into a raspy echo of its former self. Lauren Bacall, famous for her sultry voice and strong screen presence, was also a longtime smoker. Her deep voice became her trademark, but it was also shaped by years of smoking, which began when she was still a teenager. Bacall later admitted that smoking was normalized and encouraged in Hollywood, especially for women who wanted to appear mature and confident. Though she eventually quit, the damage had already been done, and she spent her later years dealing with health complications linked to the habit. Rita Hayworth, often called the love goddess of the 1940s, was another victim of Hollywood's smoking culture. Beneath her glamorous image was a woman struggling with exhaustion, anxiety, and control from studio executives. Smoking became a way for her to manage stress and maintain her on-screen persona. Over time, her health deteriorated, and while smoking was not the sole cause of her later struggles, it played a significant role in weakening her body. Judy Garland's story is one of the most tragic in Hollywood history. Introduced to cigarettes at a very young age by studio executives, Judy was encouraged to smoke to suppress her appetite and maintain her weight. Smoking became intertwined with her dependence on prescription drugs, creating a cycle that destroyed her health. Her fragile body suffered from years of abuse, and smoking further damaged her lungs and heart. Judy's story exposes how studios exploited young performers without concern for long-term consequences. Mae West was famous for her confidence, humor, and unapologetic sexuality. She smoked heavily throughout her life and treated cigarettes as part of her rebellious image. Mae West lived longer than many of her contemporaries, but she still experienced significant health issues related to smoking. Her endurance does not erase the toll the habit took on her body, even if her personality remained strong until the end. Greta Garbo, the mysterious and reclusive star, was rarely seen without a cigarette during her acting years. Smoking was part of her withdrawn nature, a quiet companion in a world she increasingly wanted to escape. Garbo smoked heavily for decades and continued even after retiring from the spotlight. While she avoided public scandal, her health quietly suffered behind closed doors, reflecting the silent damage smoking inflicted on so many stars. Ava Gardner was known for her beauty, fiery temperament, and turbulent personal life. Smoking was a constant presence in her daily routine, often paired with alcohol. Ava's heavy smoking contributed to respiratory problems and weakened her body over time. Her lifestyle, shaped by fame and pressure, eventually caught up with her, leaving her health fragile in her later years. Jean Harlow, the original blonde bombshell, lived fast and died young. Smoking was part of her image and her daily life, starting at a very young age. Though her death was primarily caused by kidney failure, smoking further weakened her immune system and overall health. Her short life serves as a reminder of how quickly Hollywood consumed its brightest stars. Elizabeth Taylor, though often associated with later eras, began her career in classic Hollywood and developed a heavy smoking habit early on. She smoked for decades even while battling serious illnesses. Taylor eventually quit, but not before suffering from lung-related complications. Her openness about addiction and recovery later in life made her one of the few stars to publicly confront the damage caused by smoking. Finally, we come to Vivien Leigh, best known for her unforgettable performance as Scarlett O'Hara. Behind her beauty and talent was a woman battling mental illness, tuberculosis, and addiction. Smoking was constant in her life and worsened her already fragile health. Her lungs, already damaged by disease, were further weakened by cigarettes, contributing to her early death. These 13 women were not villains, nor should they be remembered only for their habits. They were products of an industry that glamorized self-destruction and rewarded suffering with applause. Smoking was encouraged, advertised, and normalized, especially for women who were expected to look flawless while enduring unbearable pressure. Classic Hollywood sold fantasy, but behind the scenes, the cost was real. Cigarettes became tools of survival in a system that offered little emotional support. These actresses paid with their health, their voices, and in many cases, their lives. As we look back on these legends, it is important to understand the context rather than judge them by modern standards. Their stories serve as warnings, lessons, and reminders of how powerful industries can shape personal choices. The glamour faded, but the consequences remained.